Yes, once again we are here. Hello, everyone. My name is Pedro Pereira, and it's a great pleasure to have you here today. This is the Green Live, our weekly show where we talk about everything sustainability, nearly 1 hour of sustainability action. What we cover here is always something interesting about transparency and compliance. We also talk about eco efficiency. And finally, we talk about innovation that can drive innovative business models and inclusive growth strategies. As usual, I have the pleasure to have with me the sustainability team from SAP EMEA South. Hello, everybody. How are you doing today? Go
We're
ahead and
doing great.
introduce yourself and say what you've been
Hello,
working on.
Pedro.
Hi, Pedro. Everyone? How are you?
Wonderful. So,
Just
introduce
wanted to
yourself.
present to someone here. Oh, sorry.
Who is this one?
Because he's always looking at us. Yeah. So I'm Adriana Urso. Great to hear from you and great to see you again. So I have always company here. he's I'm still searching for a name. Yeah. I don't know. I'm between stuff like Dumbo or Sustain Techies. What do you think?
Wow, that's interesting. So we'll let our audience decide what is the name of the mascot the Green Live calls for next week. So, Stamatia Carlos, can you introduce yourself and say what you do in your day to day and also in your passions?
Sure. So I'll go ahead first, break the protocol. Está Matías, so Carlos Diaz, Chief Sustainability Officer in EMEA South for SAP. And today I'm in the middle of some renovation works. So if you hear some strange noises, I'll try to go on mute at the right time.
Yeah, your house
So,
looks great, Carlos. So no worries.
yes. So, Samatia, Betsy, I'm working with the sustainability team in EMEA South, and I'm waiting to have a really good discussion today for how we can talk about sustainability for the fashion industry.
Wonderful. All right, guys. So I just want to make an introduction. Why are we covering the topics we are covering today, and what topics are that? So maybe we can, before deep dive for our audience, we may explain to them how we are picking those topics and how we are deciding on those topics. Today we have eco fashion and circular economy. So why we are prioritizing that today?
Everybody loves fashion. Look, we were having a conversation regarding how many clothes do we use, and now we use more pajamas and informal clothes than ever before. Adriana was telling me, should I rescue these clothes for today? So Adriana, what was that?
Yeah, I was just thinking that I'm basically using maybe 10% or 20% of my wardrobe. Not going to so many meetings face to face, not going out that much. So today I decided to put on a shirt, a red one, to give it a bit more color. But what do we do with all these clothes? Are we going to use it again, or I don't know? Sometimes I think we can recycle some things, or just sell it, or just give it to people that would use it more than us. That just not keep it in the wardrobe sitting for years there. It could help.
we're
I
gonna we're
totally
gonna
agree.
talk about that.
As a matter of fact, it's been so comfortable because I can have some comfortable t-shirts, and it makes it even easy to organize the shirts at home. So for me, it's been really good. I'm not sure if fashion is making so much money. Maybe we can talk about that today, right? What do you think,
Correct.
Stamatia?
What I would say that I'm missing my high heels and my dresses as I'm stick to the stickers and the t-shirts to go to a more sustainable fashion.
Wonderful. All right, so we have now our audience coming. There are some few comments coming through, and we really want to have everybody engaged with us. A good friend of the show here, Uzair Ali. Hello, Uzair. It's also good to see you here. Please go there and share this live session in your network. It's really important that we spread the word and make sure that everybody knows what we're discussing here, because this is really the future of business and also the future leaders as well. So thank you for staying here, and please share. And for all of you, keep sharing what we are discussing today. So perhaps we can just jump into this, right? Eco fashion, circular economy. Who wants to start?
Stamatia, do you want to start? I think you have some really great things that you can share with us on
Yes, of
why
course.
we talk about fashion, because
So, of
I,
course,
I
let's
came to learn some time ago that actually fashion is the second most polluting industry. I was a bit like, really? Can you tell us more, maybe?
yeah. Yes, actually, the 10% of the carbon emissions, of the global carbon emissions, comes from the fashion industry because of the energy they produce for manufacturing, transportation, and all of these things. Approximately the 1.3 trillion liters of water is being used for that specific industry, while the 750 million of people do not reach drinking water. The 90% of the water wastes from the industry goes to the rivers without further treatment, and this contamination goes to the sea and afterwards to the globe. The 70 million trees are being cut every year for our clothes. This is a huge number. And the 23% of the of the chemicals that are being produced every year is dedicated to that specific industry. The 72% of our clothes comes from plastic fibrils and polyester, which takes 200 years to decompose. What is really, really impressive is that the 85% of the clothes actually that we use, it is being dumped annually. And only the 15% is being recycled. So as you can see, this industry has a really huge impact into the environment. And as Andriana mentioned, it is the second polluter after the oil industry. So imagine how would be also the positive impact into the environment if we take action. And one might think that it's only for the brands or for the companies to take action, but actually each one of us can take simple and easy actions for the environment. And I will share a personal example. So just before COVID, I wanted to clean my closet. So I gathered all the clothes that I wanted to donate, those that I wanted to use, and I created also a big list of those that I wanted to buy. And then I thought, why not calling someone special, a specialist, into the fashion and help me on that. So I called a friend of mine that is stylish. So we sit together, and actually after our discussion, our session, I ended up to use more than the half of the clothes that I have for donation. And I just use them differently, with different shoes, different colors, different matches. And also my big list that I was planning to buy, actually it was sorted into 5-6 things that were more important and more basic. And so actually what I did, I used more clothes. I have more clothes in my closet that I could use. I saved some money, but I also take an action actually for the environment. So it is, everyone can take some actions actually, by just seeing things differently, a different angle. And it is this is something really important for everyone to do. So
that is a great example of how innovation and creativity, and you had someone that inspired you, in this case your friend, that can help us reuse, recycle, barter, give a new life to clothes. We can talk about all the technicalities that you want to talk about, but this change in your behavior as a person, and this, having top of mind that what you're doing has an impact in the world, it is irreplaceable. So thank you for sharing the story.
Yeah, thank you. Of course, I do not use any of these clothes, as you can imagine, because then we had the lockdown. So as Adriana said, we usually use the 10% or the 20% of the clothes that we have. So, but okay, at least I have a very clean closet at the moment. So nowadays, people are more aware of the impact that they have into the environment. And actually, they tend to buy more sustainable products, more sustainable, even clothes, foods, and everything. Even the young, and more often the young people. We did a survey together with Qualtrics, a survey platform, and we asked 600 people from Spain and Italy. And the 90% of those mentioned that they take into consideration the products that are being produced on an environmental friendly way. And also, many times they check also the origin of the raw materials. So there is a shift to a sustainable fashion. And also another example that I would like to say is the increase of the second-hand markets and the swapping of clothes. Already we can see in Facebook at the moment that there is a marketplace where anyone can sell or buy second-hand shoes, clothes, bags, or there are also some other applications out there for that specific reason. So there is a great demand from the consumers for a change. And as the demand of the consumers also changes the decision of the brands, of the companies, there is a need for the brands to take actions to become greener, to become sustainable and follow a circular model from the raw material to the manufacturing, to the distribution, to the recycling. And also use renewable energies, use new technologies for recycling, use less water, and maybe pick a supplier that is using the water and energy more efficiently. And at the moment, we have some brands that are taking some actions. We can see some brands. For example, Levi's is using 96% less water, and also it recycles old jeans. And also something that is really interesting and that is coming is that Adidas is creating a 100% recycled product, which is called Future Craft Loop. And it is a product that can be remade. You can return it back. It is they break it down and create a new product again from scratch. So from already from the materials, and this is something that is coming. So there are some companies that are going into that direction.
Indeed, Satya, but I think that's you're touching a great point. Is do really brands know how much energy they are using in the whole process? Do they know how much CO2 they are emitting? How much of a material they are using? How much wastage they are producing? So just to get to know those things, it is pretty complicated unless you take it very seriously, and you only take it very seriously if you're gonna make that transparent to your final user. That's the ultimate goal.
Yeah, actually, yes, most of the brands, they do not know. They do not know and how they can track. They do not have visibility of their supply chain or anything. So they should get to know, they should be informed about what they can do so as to become more sustainable. And
Yeah, by the way, if I can make a comment here, I think I see lots of customers saying on lots of people, but this would also bring additional cost, yeah, for companies which would go into bigger prices for the product. But we have seen also from lots of studies that consumers are also willing to pay a bit more for such a product which is more sustainable. So that should not be an issue.
Well, what about we deep dive a bit on the circular economy? I think out of that, the biggest challenge is this systemic approach to sustainability, right? So, how circular economy could be helpful in that? Who wants to take this one?
I can take it over. I really love this topic and I searched a lot on it. So what is circular economy, first of all? Yeah, so it's simply, in simple words, it's a system, an economic system where we try to eliminate the waste by continually using in a circle, yeah, if you like, resources. This means reusing, repairing, remanufacturing, recycling. And this is opposed to what we used to have as a linear economy. Linear economy, what does it do? It just takes resources from the ground, make the products, use it, and then waste it. This is what we call make, take, waste. Yeah, and this is not circular at all. We're just exhausting resources from Earth, and we are just polluting a lot. So that's why we need to change this. And not only the pollution is a problem, not only the environment is a problem, but we also have an economic problem. Resources are getting exhausted, and not only we have lots of economic loss, around $500 billion per year. So why not use that? I mean, we could really use it. So what we should do uh, on this, I mean, it's a huge topic, but what can we do? This is a matter of, it's not just a single industry. We are talking about fashion today, but it's not only about fashion, it's about all the sectors. Everybody needs to participate in this. They all need to take action. And at SAP, for example, we're a software company, but we are also have our part in this, because we are enabling all industries to take action, and we have lots of experience in the supply chain and industry expertise. But not only we partner also with startups in order to bring innovation in this area and to help these industries make changes in their companies. So one of the key partnerships that we have, for example, it's with Ellen MacArthur Foundation, which is basically all about circular economy. And what they say is that there are three key principles around circular economy. One is designing out waste and pollution. Second is make sure that the products and materials are kept in use. And third one is regenerating natural systems. So first of all, designing waste out. I don't know if you have ever think about it, but we have waste because we designed it to have. I mean, we did not think in the design phase that specific material or specific product can be recycled or reused. So we need to think about that right from the beginning. Then we need to keep those materials and products in use as much as possible. So this means that we need, of course, like as Matia was saying, and also Carlos, a lot of transparency, a lot of traceability. What is it in the clothes that we are using? How can we recycle it? The labels, we need detailed information, and so on and so forth. But not only, we need to also regenerate natural systems. This is a very similar to what we have in nature. Yeah, so we have, for example, a dead leaf into a forest. It's never wasted. It goes into the ground and it's eaten by somebody, by an insect, or used by the forest itself. So we need to use that principle also in our industries, in our processes, and the way we look at things. At SAP, we have translated these three principles in four or even five, if you like, but these five can also resume to the four. Basically, responsible design, again, so design out waste and pollution. Responsible sourcing and marketplace, very important. This is around secondary materials. This means that we can reuse, recycle those materials, and we need, of course, transparency and traceability in order to understand how we can do that through the whole value chain. Then we have responsible production. Again, this goes back into secondary materials, but also use the resources in a sustainable way, in an ethical way, with ethical source food. With ethical sourcing of the work that we need to do it. And this is also very important for how do we bring that to the consumers, because responsible consuming is the next one. It's not only about how we produce it, but also how consumers take it. I mean, it's about choices in the end. Choose more sustainable products, encourage that, so companies can invest more in that area and do more. And the last one, it's responsible reuse and recycling. Yeah, it's recycling. It's really important, but also reusing. So Stamatia did some great examples of how she can reuse her wardrobe by just some small tips and tricks. Yeah. You might have noticed that there is a big issue here with all these four principles. The fact that actually the clothing, the garments, and giving that transparency and traceability is not that easy, because once you have sold the product, a shirt or whatever, you lose track of it. Companies don't know where it goes and how it's reused, how it's recycled. You just lose track of it. And especially even if you get it in a recycling area, you might have issues because you don't know what fibers is it using, what's the percentages, how were these produced. So we're in this area. We're partnering with a startup in the US, in New York, which is called Eon, by the way, and they have created this circular ID, which helps to identify garments and not only transform it into an asset for the company in order to show to see where it goes, how is it used, but also get it back and understand how it can be recycled, know exactly the composition of that material, and have what we call also connected products. Yeah, we know everything about the digital twin of the clothes that we are wearing. We are doing lots of partnership actually and lots of initiatives. Eon is not the only one. Another startup is, for example, Queen of Raw. They have built a marketplace where they are selling fabrics which are not used. Sometimes you can get pieces of fabrics that you, for some reason, you don't use, and there is more than 100 million pieces a year lost in these kind of materials. So they created this awesome marketplace where you can buy these fabrics. Another one, it's the London Design Festival, where we participated last year with the Circular Design Project together with Ellen MacArthur, and not only, where we had a series of discussions and talks and seminars around the circular economy. And we are always, working a lot with universities, with governments, with businesses, investors, in order to push the adoption of circular economy and make it easier also, because it's not easy to transform this. It's a huge progress, and companies need to take it small, start from somewhere, and then expand and do more. In Ghana, for example, we are doing lots around plastic. We have created a plastic cloud where we encourage the trading. We created a marketplace for reused plastic, for recycled plastics, and we also ensure that the waste pickers in Ghana have a fair trade. Yeah, because they really need that, and a fair wage.
How do you
Another
relate
one,
this?
yeah,
How do you
sir.
relate this plastic story with the fashion industry?
Yeah, good topic. A lot of times plastic gets into our garments as well. Uh, Plastic is not really only plastic the way we know it. It's different. There could be different types of plastic, but we can reuse plastic. And I have seen really some nice garments made out of plastic where you could really see the plastic. That was really interesting to see. But very good question. And we're also collaborating with activists, for example, with ocean activist Emily Penn. She is the founder of Expedition. And usually she gets people, to see the plastic and how this what is happening in the world. But now, of course, with all the pandemic and less traveling, she has built this Shift platform together with SAP and more specifically with Qualtrics, where people can see actually what they can do and define their role and how they can help. They can really choose to make good, like planting a tree, like I don't know, using less laundry detergent and use a bowl instead of it, using technology, using different things that they can do to make good in the world. So these are lots of examples, and I think Samatia also did some great examples that I wanted to talk about. Reusing those garments, donating it, why not? Or even resell it, sell it, some stuff that we don't use, sell it to other people that might use it more. Or another concept that I found really interesting is, renting, what we call simply renting. So for example, a bag, maybe even a luxury bag, sometimes you buy it, you pay it a lot, you love it, but you maybe use it really rarely because you want to protect it, not damage it and stuff like that. But what if you could rent it? You just pay for a specific event, you rent that bag, and then you give it back and somebody else can reuse it. This is not only about the bag and the environment, it's also about the value of that bag, which of course will change during the time. So it requires a lot of transparency, checking what happened with that bag and what's the value of that bag. So there is also a financial process behind it. Really interesting. I found it really interesting. So these are just a few examples. If you have some others, please feel free.
I was remembering I went kayaking with my son, and we went to different beaches, very small beaches in southern Spain, and in each one of them you could find so much plastic. And think about it, it is not designed for that. It is not supposed to be there, but there's not little space, even places where you cannot go, just walking, you just have to go by boat or kayak or something like that. You can find plastic all over the place. So you were talking about reusing, but the reality, and I think we have some images to support this, is that we reuse less every year. And we have gone down now from 9.2 to 8.6%, whatever the numbers. We talk a lot about it, and we don't reuse enough. And we know that half of the emissions are related to producing new stuff. Okay, so what I would like to do is just do a small journey into some of the topics that you both have covered. It's what does it mean, this circular economy in practical terms for companies, for brands? How can they achieve that? And we see that in the next image. We see that we have to start with the right design. Okay, you can see that, Pedro, in the next image. Then you have to go to responsible use and go around this circle. This circle used to be a line, as Stamatia explained, and now we have to make this line a circle. So what I'm going to do is just walk you through these different dimensions and understand what kind of solutions we can tackle to really do this circle efficient and create this magical circle of circular economy for the fashion industry. So the first one that I'm going to touch about is about make. Responsible design and responsible for production. Everything starts with a design that is intelligent. We can use SAP Intelligent Product Design to make sure that we really understand what are the implications instead of energy, CO2 emissions, materials, wastage. We have to start smart. Understanding which are the product costing components, and being able also to fight overproduction and to build those scenarios that take into account all the financial impacts of that product, the distribution, the manufacturing. We do that with SAP Integrated Business Planning. So the combination of these solutions is going to give me a responsible design that then can go to a responsible production. When we talk about this subject, many times we talk about the packaging, which is very important, but it's not only about the packaging. It's how much material we use, and also all those dimensions that I just mentioned. This explains the first pillar of responsible design and responsible production. If we move on a little bit through those pictures, Pedro, what we can see is that we advance, and we understand that to make that production responsible, you have to source that responsible. I'm not going to use. I'm going to take and reuse. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, take and reuse. So sourcing responsibly. What are we talking about here? Adriana was talking about the plastic cloud. Of course, you need to source plastic, and we need to make sure that those 10 billion in plastic transactions that we have in Arriba, we put it in good use, and we look for the right providers to minimize your impact. Arriba, as you know, is we have 4.2 million companies there operating in 190 countries, 3 trillion in business every year, and is a platform where companies buy and sell in a B2B fashion. So if I want to do responsible sourcing, I'll have to think about secondary markets, as Adriana was talking about. I have to think about proximity rules. Am I buying to the guy that is close to me, so we emit less CO2? I have to think about one-time picking. I don't have to go twice to my provider, but he can deliver everything at once. I also can think about green certification. So is this provider certified somehow to guarantee that we're gonna minimize the GHG emissions? And last but not least, which is the delivery method? Are these products gonna come in an airplane or by train, et cetera, et cetera? All these things are very critical because you need to report also on scope 3. So Arriba is going to help you understanding which is your responsible sourcing approach in that dimension. And then we move on. We move on to another of the pillars, which is the recovery and reuse. Adriana was talking about that, even if she talks from Italy, the mecca of design and fashion. But she was saying that yes, you lose track when a brand sells the produce, they lose track. Well, not necessarily. Every time the customer interacts with the product, if that product has some intelligence, and that's NFC, QRs, or RFIDs, you can really continue in touch with the product, and the brand can continue in touch with the product. And then you can start a lot of gamification, a lot of maintenance, a lot of replacement strategies that have proved to be highly beneficial for the companies and for the users. And of course, you can use blockchains to trace also the materials that are used in each one of your garments. Not only that, brands are working harder and harder to build what is called the waste maps. Where do my clothes end up? And that post-consumer waste control, it is very important to understand what is your impact and how also users are embracing your products, how long they are using your products, why they are replacing them, and by which other products they are replacing them. Then we move a little bit to the next section, that is how do I do responsible consumption, okay, which is very important. As we have mentioned, 70% of discarded clothes are reusable, really, but we don't do it now. So for that, you need a commerce tool to put all those products in front of your customers, SAP Commerce Cloud. But not only that, which is the availability of those products in the different channels. We have SAP Car omni-channel article availability. Basically, you need to know how to acquire those products. We were talking about the effort that the brands are doing in controlling the energy, the CO2, the materials, the wastage. Okay, but you need to let the customers know about all that and also get their feedback. And for that, platforms like Qualtrics are essential. Are your sustainability efforts being successful? Are they perceived by your consumers? Are they appreciated? Are you saving enough in making those efforts, or are you putting the cost of the extra cost on the shoulders of your consumers? I think that's when we have said that in previous sessions. Sustainability 1.0 is that one that understands that there are more costs associated with sustainable practices that have to be translated to the final customer. Sustainability 2.0 is there are more efficiency that can be translated into savings to consumer. Whether you are in 1.0 or 2.0, you need to let your customer know and have this SAP product content hub where you really have all the information about your smart product and be able to do recycling, to do maintenance. We're talking about fashion, but if we move forward a little bit, we know that there are many maintenance strategies and others that are very interesting. So I hope I gave you a view of the different parts of this cycle of how we're building this circle and not a line. And I would also like to give you a specific example for the fashion industry. So if we go to the next image, we see how could an architecture, and apologies for the complexity, but it's, I think, interesting to know. If we start at the top with SAP CX solutions, we reach out to our customers through all the different channels to just let them know what we are doing and also get their feedback through SAP Qualtrics of what we are doing in terms of sustainability with our products. Then we have SAP Customer Activity Repository to really enable all those channels and make sure that no matter what it is, we bring it to our customers. Of course, S/4HANA Fashion, the ERP that joins both worlds, the demand and the supply, and tools, as we have mentioned, that are very important for creating a green logistic. So, for example, SAP Logistics Business Network, you need to make sure that if you're transporting, you're using your trucks, they are full with produce, and if not, you can have emerge and forge alliances to use those transportation methods more sustainably. Transportation management to make sure that you do dynamic rule-based routing to minimize how the products are going throughout the world. Automatic freight calculation to make sure also that you transport them as much as possible. So there are so many ways in which brands can really minimize the CO2 footprint. And with this, I think I gave you an overview of a complex environment and all the things that you can do, but beautiful opportunities for brands to make an impact.
Wonderful.
Really interesting. Carlos, I was wondering, you are talking a lot of times with customers. How are they doing? What do you see it in the markets? Are they progressing with this? What's your
They are
feeling?
progressing because they have to be progressing and because they want to be progressing. Let me explain that. Have to, because there's more and more regulation that is coming in which they really need to control. You know that some brands are now obliged to keep track all of their products all the way until they end up in a wasteland or they are recycled. Okay, so it's not just voluntary in many cases. They need to keep control of the whole cycle. So they have to. Regulation is a mandate, but also they want to because they have learned that this is the biggest, fastest growing interest group in the history of humankind, the sustainability interest group.
Oh, great.
Well, I think according to data as well, 50% of the consumers are pretty much making their decisions now, taking that into consideration. And I believe this is what it's called the passionate consumers. That's even covered in a brand new series that is produced and by SAP, which I recommend everybody to take a look, where we are deep dive on these passionate consumers and how they think, how they work, and how they are changing the business environment for most of those brands. So, what else, guys? Do you think that fashion will change because of all of this? And if it will change, in which direction do you think fashion is going?
Yeah, I really
Well,
think it is. Yeah, please, Carlos.
no, Adriana, you know more about fashion than me. It's obvious. So go ahead.
Yeah, well, just because I live in Italy doesn't mean that I know more. Yeah, well, I lots of customers are really moving in that direction, and since lots of them since a few years now. I mean, it's not really that recent anymore. Maybe they have started small, but they are doing more and more. And really, they are looking at just not only recycling and reusing, but also new business models. Yeah, like I was saying, how can I, instead of selling a bag, how can I rent it? Instead of that, how can I handle the value of that bag through the time, and at the end of the life I get it back? Yeah, it's mine, it's my property, and so the company can actually decide what to do with it: recycle, reuse it, disassemble it, and maybe use some pieces of it. So I really love these topics. The way, people always try to find a new balance, find solutions, and also progress, and bring also economic growth. They say that the circular economy, and I'm not saying it, Accenture says it, it will bring around 4.5 trillion of American dollars of economic growth. So this is really huge. So it's happening. And at the beginning it's a bit slow, maybe you can see it step by step, but once it arrives to a level of maturity, it will go much faster, definitely.
And I think that's a critical word. The other day we were talking about to an Italian fashion brand, and they're struggling. They are a luxury brand, and they're struggling with the COVID situation. And the conversation was exactly about how fast they can walk that digital mile from the moment they do an effort in sustainability to the moment that they get the feedback from their customers. Is that valuable? Is that meaningful? Does it make the difference? And is that a reason to change a buying decision? That is how fast they walk that mile. It is the name of the game. Imagine they do something in their back office operations. For example, how they do logistics or manufacturing or transportation or sourcing, you name it. If they don't bring that piece of information to their customers to know if it's valuable as soon as possible, they suffer.
Well, everybody, one of the objectives we have with those green lives is to really understand how technology can help organizations make a change. And today we're talking about the circular economy. And there's one thing here that I would like to bring to you, which is the capabilities map. What are the technologies available that can help organizations to be more responsible in sourcing and marketplace, in production, and also consumption, and the overall recovery and reuse that Carlos have explained to all of us. So I have here a bit of a map that I would like all of us to go through it together and give a glimpse to our audience about there is real technology that is available today, and also new technology that will be available that everybody can use in their organizations to drive their digital transformation with the purpose of becoming more sustainable. So who wants to start explaining this capability maps that is available today from an SAP point of view?
Okay, thank you. I can give it a try, but some of the topics that you see here have been mentioned by Stamatia and by Adriana. Like if we talk about responsible design or responsible production, how do we ensure ethical sourcing? How do we trace the materials? All those are the final objectives that we want to address in responsible sourcing, production, consumption, and recovery and reuse. But the beautiful thing that I want to stress in this one is not how many solutions are there, but how rich is our pipeline of new solutions, how we're going to be also announcing new things in the coming quarter around circular economy. We have a beautiful experts, global experts like Maggie Boogie at SAP and others, and they are gonna be bringing new stuff for this purpose. So it's something that is super vibrant at SAP, something that is also super important for the fashion industry, but also for other industry. And you have a plethora of solutions that you can read there for sure.
Wonderful. All right, everyone. That was a great conversation. I believe that it enriched a lot, deep diving in a specific industry, looking into a big trend and area of action, which is circular economy. Well, it's amazing having those discussions and learn from all of you. Any thoughts for what's coming next week? I always ask you that question, and I always probably get you off guard. Maybe you know that already and you prepared something. So, what you're up to for next week?
You
Always
always
pushing
start.
us, Pedro.
Always. Okay. So, Mattia, where are we going to go for next week?
So, Mattia,
I
you're
think
on
you're
mute.
on mute,
Yeah,
Stamatia.
no,
Yeah.
she's pretending because she's not sure.
So I'm taking some time to think. Well, we can just take another industry. Let's say, let's take the professional services industry, which is a special industry. And we might think that there are nothing we can do for the sustainability in that sector, but actually there are things that we can do. So let's talk about that.
Well,
We
especially
take the
traveling,
challenge.
right? So if you look at the amount of business travels out there, is this a big impact when we don't have that much travel? Should organizations keep traveling or not? I think this is a great topic indeed.
Yeah, it
We'll go
is.
for it.
I wouldn't have picked that out, Stamatia. Great one. Thanks.
So I have a suggestion for next week as well, and that's something that come close to my heart. For more than 10 years, I invested my expertise into strategy management and performance. And what we were working there is the methodology of the balanced scorecard. And what's really great is that Dr. Kaplan, along with the Palladium Group, has rebranded the whole balanced scorecard to focus on the era of ESG, right? And they have redesigned the methodology in order to help organizations to create scorecards, metrics, and objectives that aligns with the triple bottom line. So next week, if that's okay with everybody, I would like to bring a bit of that experience and connect that to the topic of sustainability and help everybody out there that is looking to revamp their strategy to take into consideration a framework that helps everybody to discuss and have shared values around achieving really the triple bottom line in a more effective way. How does that sound
Sounds
to you?
interesting. And we will learn. I know zero about that. So
Wonderful. So we'll deep dive on
Interesting.
that as well. All
thank you,
right, then.
Pedro.
So wonderful. Thank you so much, everybody. And for all of you that are watching us, thank you so much for your time. This is really an exercise that we push ourselves every week, regardless the quality of the production or any of these small details. We really want to learn and share. It's a process that is pushing us. And also, I would like to push you to learn and also share with us what are your questions? What do you want us to deep dive? It's very important that we do that two ways. We have the comments down below on LinkedIn, also YouTube, everywhere this is being streamed. You have the opportunity to share with us your questions and everything that makes sense to you in this space and that you want the experts to reply to you with the expertise they have. Well, for today, thank you so much. Stay healthy, and I see you next week.